Good morning. We're getting ready to go for a run today. Today is day 26. It's exciting. 26 days ago, we started to make this happen. And I actually wanted to run about an hour ago. It was overcast and everything was looking really good. And I realized that my phone didn't charge last night. And I wanted to record the intro video before I left. And so I waited. And now the sun is out. So we'll be running in some sun, and it's a little bit warmer. But you know what? It's cool. It's one more day, one less day to go. I'll see you guys in a little bit. Day 26. Day 26 has been completed. Super excited to say that day 26 is completed. It was definitely warm out there. I was not too happy. It took everything for me to get out today because I was supposed to go about an hour and a half earlier, and I didn't. And by the time I got out there, the overcast weather was no longer overcast. The sun was out, and the temperature was higher. It just took a lot for me to get going. But I'm happy to say that I completed day 26. One less day to go. The challenge is 365 days. Super stoked. It's a Saturday. Most people were sleeping probably when I was running. But I was out there doing my thing. And today I reflected on a couple of things. One of them was Goggin was talking today about grinding alone. You know, and as I mentioned, I listened to him at low volume, and he kind of triggers these internal conversations for me. And he talks about you have to grind alone because when you're alone, you get to tackle like the demons that inside your mind that are trying to keep you from doing the thing that you're trying to do. So, for example, your mind starts telling you it's too hot. You woke up too late. Just run tomorrow. It's okay. We could reset the clock today. We'll start day one tomorrow. It's no big deal. It's only 26 days. If anything, it's just going to be better for you because you're going to run an extra 26 days. It'll be better for your health. You have all this stuff happening in my head telling me all the reasons why I should turn around and just call it a day and not run. And then I'm halfway through my run and I get this other voice that's telling me, you already ran. I mean, it's not like you said you had to run the same distance every single day. I mean, you could just turn back right now, call it a day. You got your run in, be happy that you got out here. It's hot. You should just, be proud of the fact that you put your running shoes on and you walked out the door. And it starts trying to convince me that I needed to turn around and just quit my run. And I'm happy to say that I did not listen. But Goggin talks about grinding alone because when you're alone, you're able to actually go one-on-one with your own mind, right? There's no motivational music or any kind of, friend cheering you on or a trainer telling you push a little harder, go a little deeper, run a little faster, focus on your stride, whatever it is. And I think there's something real about that. So, as I mentioned on some of the videos before, a lot of times when I go for my run, I take my daughter with me and she rides her bike and I go running. When she's with me, we do this often. And, when I'm running with her, even though I'm having my reflections and I'm going through all my stuff in my mind, there's a part of my mind that is conscious about how far ahead she is, or is she closer to the sidewalk? Is she on the sidewalk? Who's walking past her in the opposite direction? Like, who's paying attention to where she's at? What cars are pulling up next to us? I'm one of those dads that's really protective. I worry about my kid like 24/7. And so there's a level of consciousness about running with her that removes a portion of my mind to be thinking about her. And I don't want to say it's distracting, but it's definitely something, right? And when I run without her, like today, I ran alone today, I find myself focusing on the actual run a lot more. I focus more on, for example, today right before I went running, because my phone wasn't charged and I wanted to wait until it charged a little bit, I watched some technique videos on how to run like a pro, basically. And so there was this guy who trains triathlon runners, and he was talking about the angle of your knee and your stride, and the angle of your neck, and to relax your shoulders and to keep your arms at 90 degrees, and the propelling of your arms when you're running is actually keeping you in balance with the way your body's moving. And he's talking about all these techniques. And so today when I was running, I was really dialed into, I was having my conversation inside, like I mentioned, but a large part of my mind was focused, kind of ignoring the voice that was telling me to turn around, and just taking my focus to how my feet were landing, and paying attention whether I'm striking with the heel, or whether I was at the halfway foot part, or whether I was on the ball of my feet, and which felt better for me, and my angle, my angling forward, was my angle from my hips forward, or was it from my ankles forward? And at times I found that I was angling forward from my hips forward, and then from my hips up, angling forward. And so I was correcting my stride and trying to focus on developing a good running stride. Because if you develop a really good running stride, then what happens is your body can run not just a little faster without you even putting more effort into it, but just by adjusting your stride, you gain some speed. But also, it minimizes the chance of injury, and it also but it reduces how fatigued you get in your run. So it increases endurance and minimizes, any chance of injury. And so it kind of made me think a little bit more about how I was running. And I found that, yes, there is some adjusting that I needed to do. And so I'm adjusting my running, because the challenge is for 365 days. And the last thing I want to do is run with an injury. And so I started getting conscious about, wow, I'm running. Here's 26 days that I'm running. I want to make sure that I'm doing everything possible so that I don't injure myself. I don't want to pull a hamstring. I don't want to, twist an ankle or anything like that, so that I can continue running for 365 days. Because as you guys know, if I skip a day, the clock resets, right? And I'm supposed to be increasing distance every month, right? 1 mile every month. So coming up on my monthly mark, I'm happy to say that I have increased almost a full mile. I did do a long run where I went just a little over the mile. I increased a little more than a mile, but that's not my run. I'm not running that long distance every day. My plan is that once I get towards the end of the month, a little closer to the end of the month, I should start running that extra mile consistently. And that should be my base run from that point forward. That will be my new norm. So coming back to this grinding alone thing, I started thinking. So I had a conversation with my daughter some time ago, and my daughter's very musically inclined. She likes musical instruments. I think I mentioned this in another video, but one of the things that she's always done since she was like 4 is I actually taught her how to read this way, is that she looks at music videos and she pulls up the lyrics on the music videos and she just sings and sings and sings and sings. And I encourage it because I think it's awesome. She's actually pretty good. Like she pulled up some at one point when she was like 5 or 6 years old, she was actually looking up voice lessons on YouTube and like doing her own little vocal exercises and stuff. And so she's actually not that bad. She's pretty good. But the point that I'm trying to make is when I was having a conversation with her, when she was about 6 or 7, she said to me, I want to be a professional singer. And I said, okay, well, to be a professional singer, we need to talk about what that means, because you also said you wanted to play the drums, and we got a drum kit for you. and then you played it for like, I don't know, maybe 6 months, and then you never touched it again. And to be a musician, to be a professional singer, it requires a certain level of commitment, because what makes you think you want to be a professional singer? And she said, I want to be like Pink, right? That's right. So if Pink ever watches this video, just so you know, you have a fan. And she's been a fan of yours for a long time, since she was like 5. But she wants to be like Pink. And so I explained to her, and I said, and why is that? And she said, as I mentioned to you guys, a lot of times when I'm talking to people, I ask questions and they find their own answers, right? So I do the same thing with my kid. I ask a lot of questions. And so I was asking her, why does she want to be like Pink? And she said, I want to be like Pink because it's super cool. Like, you're on stage, and your songs on the radio, and everybody knows who you are, and everybody likes you, and this and that and the other. And I kind of chuckled, because I don't think everybody likes Pink. I think she's probably one of the more liked, professional performers. But nonetheless, a lot of performers have people that don't like them. Whatever. Anyway, so my point in all this was, I tried to explain to her that was not what being a singer was about. A lot of people think, Madonna was amazing in her time, and this and that and the other, and they think, like being a singer it's about the stage and the fame and the recording and this and that and the other, and it really isn't. It really isn't. That is 10% of being a singer or a musician for anything. Quite frankly, this applies to just almost any profession. So 10% of what you see is about being a singer. The other 90% happens alone. Why do I say that? Well, because what you're not thinking about is the endless hours that Pink spends doing vocal exercises, recording a song 17 times to get it just right, exercising every day so she can be in shape, because that actually affects how you hold your breath and how you breathe and how you sing. Eating specific diets that help with the vocal cords, right? So for example, singers avoid eating dairy sometime before they have any kind of show or any kind of recording, because dairy is not good for the vocal cords. So there is so much more to being a singer, right? And I mentioned how my father was a pianist, and there was so much more. It wasn't about when he was on stage. When he was on stage, that was this much. What they didn't see was the life commitment that my father had to his instrument. The obsessive behavior that he had about practicing every single day for hours. The commitment that he had for increasing the number of pieces that he would learn and memorize, and working with the sheet music, and then memorizing it, bringing it to memory, and then getting off the page of the sheet music. That is what being a singer is about. That's what being a pianist was about. When I was DJing, I mentioned to you guys, like when I was DJing, I used to spend endless hours in front of my tables, and I was constantly just mixing records, and I was obsessed about it. It was an obsession. And I think that's the case for anyone. So the guys that play basketball, right? If you ever pay attention to basketball players, like when they're not playing, when they're just kind of hanging out, a lot of times they could be laying on a couch watching TV, and they're rolling the basketball, shooting it up above them, like they're watching TV, but they're kind of like just playing with the basketball. Or you look at kids that are in college that are playing college basketball or high school basketball or whatever, and they are walking around with the basketball throughout the campus, and they're bouncing the basketball and they're dribbling the basketball while they're walking from one class to the other. They're obsessed with that ball, right? It's an obsession. Like, they breathe, sleep, eat, think basketball every single day, every hour, whatever it may be, and then they master the game. Then maybe they go to the NBA or whatever. So it has to be, that's, but when we go to the game, we see the 10%. Oh my God, Pippen passes the ball and Jordan slams it or whatever. And I just took you back a couple of decades in basketball. But here's the deal. When I was watching basketball and I used to think about these guys who were like amazing on the court, right? I didn't see the 90% that they put into becoming that person. And you look at, Tom Brady, these football players, and all these all these great guys, and they're the same way. They're the same way. They're on, when you're not seeing the game, they are at practice and at practice and at practice. And when they're at home, they're talking football. And when they're with their friends, they're playing football. Football is a life to them, right? Performers, actors, acting is their life. When they're not making movies, they're taking classes to continue working on their craft. When they're not taking classes, they're in theater or they're doing volunteering at a community theater place until they get really good, until they get some fame. And then it becomes, you got an acting coach at 7 a.m. You got a dietitian in your house who's feeding you good food to make sure that your brain is working at optimum performance. You're memorizing scripts. You're doing scene work. You're coaching other actors. You're working with acting group. You're upset. Acting, you're obsessed. And those are the guys that make it to become professional icons that we then go, wow, what an amazing legacy what Robert De Niro is going to leave behind. How crazy for decades and decades and decades to come. He engraved his name in glitter forever. I mentioned Audrey Hepburn the other day, one of my favorites, and same thing. So I was thinking about this grinding alone thing. And I think a lot of times, we don't necessarily get trained in this or get taught this when we're younger. For example, when we think about high school sports, we think about football. Oh, our kids, he's going to play soccer, he's going to play football. Or, when the kids are little, they're in the soccer league or whatnot. And the thing is, that is awesome. That's awesome that they play football and that they're in the soccer league and that they're active and that they're in the baseball team or whatever. But there's actually a statistic out there that's actually pretty rough. A lot of these kids that play team sports, when they get out of high school or when they're done with college, they become very inactive. Why is that? A large percentage of these kids, they're used to playing with other kids on team sports. And so what happens is they get out of high school or they get out of college and they start work. And then they call their friends and they go, hey, you guys want to get together for a football game? Oh, yeah, man, I'm working on Sunday. Sorry, I can't make it. Oh, my girl, we're supposed to go to the movies. Whatever. And so that team, I can't play football by myself, right? And so what happens is, unless they have the monetary means to be able to afford to go join a league or whatever, their activity just kind of falls to the ground. Ironically, people that are in like cross country, they do not. They stay active a lot of times throughout their life. The chances of them staying active after school and college and everything is tremendously high. People that run track and field, for example, they have a tremendously high chance of continuing a very active life. And it makes sense. They don't need to go call 18 of their friends to go play football. They just simply put on their running shoes and they go for a run, right? They find a local track and go run some laps. So it was kind of interesting to me to be thinking about this concept, because I was thinking about how many times, I trained in the gym and I had a training partner, and how many times, like, if my training partner wasn't all in that day or whatever, it affected my workout. If my training partner didn't show up, right? So I had a buddy that we used to work out together at World's Gyms, and we that dates me, by the way, and You don't need to go look up what happened to World's Gym or where they're at. But nonetheless, my training partner sometimes wouldn't show up, and then I would be like, oh, and I would be so disappointed, and I would still work out, but my workout just wasn't the same. And I'm kind of like reevaluating this whole running thing, because it has actually turned into this thing where I just get up and run, and I do something really good for myself, and I feel absolutely amazing. And even though it sucks when I start taking the first couple of steps after my run, I don't know if you noticed, but my demeanor just completely changes, and my demeanor just feels good all day. Something about breathing that morning oxygen. I don't know what's happening, but what I can tell you is this. In 26 days, I reversed aging. Like, I feel so much better. And I mean, I know that sounds really stupid. No, I'm not 12, but even just my mobility, even just my ability to like bend down and tie my shoes. When I started running, I mentioned that I was at my heaviest, 270 pounds, 26 days ago. And I haven't weighed myself, so I can't tell you what I weigh right now. But what I can tell you is this. My first couple of days, I could not bend down and just tie my shoes. I had to do it in like spurts. It was like, make the loop, stretch back up, go back down, throw the other loop in there, tie the first down. Oh, catch your breath, wrap the other loop, And I can tell you that I'm not doing that right now. I just bend down, I tie my shoes, I throw them on. I mentioned the other day that I'm able to put my pants in my shorts by balancing in one foot. I hadn't been able to do that in weeks, maybe even months, where I would have to hold on to something to put my other leg into my pants. So this is supposed to be a transformation challenge, 365 days of running every single day outdoors. That was the challenge that I took on. And this is based on David Goggins stating that 365 days make something real. You internalize it, you transform, you become what it is that you're doing. And I can tell you that I am feeling absolutely amazing. I'm 26 days in. And I can't even visualize what this is going to do for me at 365 days. If I keep going the way that I feel right now, and this progression continues the way that it's happening, and I just get used to this idea, grinding alone, thinking about the outcome, I'm going to feel like I'm 20 years old in 365 days. I don't know. It's difficult for me to even wrap my head around how much my body or my mind is going to change. Because the other thing is that I feel like I'm thinking clear. The changes are everywhere. It's not just, I'm running longer. It's my clothes are fitting better. My cognitivity is better. I feel like I'm thinking sharper, and my energy level is better. My body hurts less. Yeah, things are going really good. So 26 days, we're done. 365 days. Listen, you don't have to take a running challenge, but I invite you to join me on a 365-day challenge. Maybe it means you read books. Maybe it means that you just make it a point to take your kid for a 20-minute walk with you every day and just find out what he's thinking or what she's thinking. Maybe it's just you taking 30 minutes with your kid, going for a walk, asking questions like, what do you like? What was your day like? What did you think about today? Are you liking spending time with me? Whatever. 365 days, and just see where that takes you. And then share that with me. You can tag your I think there's a way to tag your videos to my videos. I'm not really sure. I'm kind of fairly new to the whole YouTube thing. So I'm sure you probably know more about that than I do. But Even if it's just posting it on a comment and just saying, hey, thanks for making me do this challenge. I'm doing this for 365 days. That'd be great to hear from you. But anyway, have a wonderful weekend. It is Saturday. I'm going to go enjoy the rest of my weekend. I have a few things I need to get to, but I just wanted to wish you well and tell you that we completed day 26 and we're still on a roll. We haven't taken any days off. Thank you so much for watching. Tune in and follow. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.